Humanity had always looked up at the night sky with curiosity. But curiosity slowly turned into fear when scientists began detecting strange signals from deep space. These signals were not messages, at least not in a language anyone could understand, but they were strong enough to make every major nation believe that someone, or something, out there was powerful. Leaders across the world met in secret and agreed that humanity needed to grow stronger, smarter, and hidden. That was how the idea of building a secret empire began. The project was called The Veil. Only a handful of the world's most trusted scientists, engineers, pilots, and strategists knew the full truth about it. Dr. Ilara N. was one of them. She was a quiet, sharp-minded woman who believed that humanity's survival depended on preparing for the unknown. She had seen how humans fought among themselves for centuries, and she did not trust the idea that alien life, if it existed, would be friendly. She worked beneath the frozen deserts of Antarctica, inside a facility so deeply buried that even satellites couldn't detect it. From there, she helped design humanity's future among the stars. The plan was simple but extremely difficult. Expand into space without letting anyone outside Earth know. Humanity had already built satellites, small stations, and exploration rockets, but the Veil wanted much more. They wanted hidden colonies behind gas giants where light could not easily reach, mining stations inside hollowed-out asteroids, shipyards camouflaged by cosmic dust, and research labs placed on moons that never faced the sun. Everything had to be invisible, silent, and shielded from detection. To hide all of this, scientists developed technology that bent light and scrambled radiation signals. If any unknown civilization was watching, they would see nothing but empty space. Humans felt clever and proud of their invention. They believed they were finally ahead of any possible threat. As the years passed, humanity's secret empire grew. 13 major installations were completed, one large enough to support hundreds or even thousands of workers. Life in these hidden places was difficult but peaceful. People worked long hours but believed in the purpose. They knew they were part of something historic. The workers included miners who dug rare metals from asteroids, engineers who built engines and shield systems for stars, farmers who grew food in controlled atmospheric domes, and scientists who studied unknown particles that drifted through space. Every person had signed a strict promise: no communication with the outside world except through secure military channels, no mention of their location to family, and no violation of secrecy. Breaking the rule meant permanent removal from the project, and possibly much worse. Dr. N often traveled between installations through specially designed transports that used silent engines. These ships were not fast, but they were almost impossible to detect. Each time she visited a new colony, she inspected construction sites, spoke with crew leaders, and reminded everyone why they needed to stay hidden. "We do not hide because we are afraid," she often said. "We hide because knowledge gives us time, and time gives us strength." Many workers repeated her words during their hardest days. Meanwhile, Earth had changed too. Nations that once argued about borders and power now had a greater fear the possibility of alien contact. They set aside differences and formed the Stellar Accord, an alliance created to support the Veil and to keep Earth united. People on Earth did not know the truth, but they heard rumors of advanced defense projects and deep space security programs. For once, humanity moved in the same direction. Even with unity, the empire was incredibly difficult to maintain. Supplies had to be transported quietly. Waste materials had to be handled without leaving trails. Every engine burn, every energy pulse, every communication signal had to be carefully cleaned so that nothing leaked into the open cosmos. A single mistake could reveal everything. Yet for almost 3 decades humanity succeeded. The secret empire grew strong. Children were born in the colonies, young pilots trained inside vast underground hangars. Massive starships, once far more powerful than anything shown to the public, were constructed piece by piece. Humanity had never been so advanced and never so prepared. They believed they were finally safe. But hidden deep inside this confidence was a small, invisible danger. Humans had no idea how their technology looked to other civilizations. The energy used to hide their ships and stations left patterns humans could not detect themselves. If anyone out there was watching, they might misunderstand what humanity was doing. But at that time, no one considered this possibility. Humans believed the galaxy was huge and silent. Dr. N herself felt proud of their progress. When she stood inside the observation dome of the main command center, she often looked at the stars and imagined a future where humans traveled freely, not from fear but from exploration. She hoped that in 100 years, humanity would reveal its power to the galaxy not as a threat, but as proof of what they had achieved. Still, she could not ignore small, subtle worries. Sometimes she noticed strange energy readings on long-range scanners, flashes that appeared and disappeared too quickly. Other times she heard faint static within their secure communication channels. The engineers explained it as natural space interference. She accepted that answer, but not fully. Something felt unusual. Something felt close, yet the empire continued building. They expanded research labs behind Saturn. They built a new transport gate near Neptune's orbit, and they discovered a mineral inside asteroid clusters that could power their strongest shields. Everything was accelerating. Humanity was becoming fast, intelligent, and powerful, but all of it was happening under the belief that they were alone, or at least hidden well enough. Workers joked that aliens would never find them. Leaders laughed that Earth was the galaxy's best-kept secret. Dr. N reminded them to stay cautious, but even she believed humanity had more time, much more time, before anything truly dangerous happened. If someone had told her then that the first alien ship was already moving toward the solar system, scanning for the very energy signature the veil produced, she might have stopped everything. She might have warned Earth, ordered all colonies into defensive mode, or changed the technology completely. But she did not know. No one knew. And so humanity continued to build, unaware that every new shield generator and every hidden station was sending a quiet whisper into the void, one that a distant civilization could clearly hear. While humans celebrated their growing empire, far beyond the edge of their perception, something else was watching, something intelligent, cautious, and powerful. Humanity believed it was preparing for the unknown future, but the truth was simple. The future was already on its way, and it was coming much faster than anyone expected. Asterisk, the strange energy distortion was first noticed on an ordinary day. Lieutenant Cade Rowan was sitting inside the control room of the outer monitoring station, drinking cold synthetic coffee and staring at the long-range scanner like he did every morning. Most days were boring. The screens showed nothing but stars, dust, and the silent emptiness of space. But today, a small flicker appeared on the edge of the scanner. At first, Cade thought it was an error, maybe static or a sensor glitch. But the flicker grew brighter, sharper, and then it split into several moving points. His eyes widened. Those were not comets. They were not asteroids. They were moving too smoothly, too fast, and too intelligently. He called for the senior officer, and soon alarms were quietly activated across the hidden empire. No loud sirens, no public announcements, everything was silent and controlled. Only the highest-ranking leaders knew what was happening. Dr. Alara N received the alert in her underground command center. Her heart tightened as she saw the data. Unknown vessels, multiple, had entered the solar system. They were approaching from a direction no human ship ever used. Their design was nothing like anything humans had built. Asterisk, she ordered immediate observation. No action, no communication, yet just watching. Humanity had prepared for contact, but not like this. They always imagined they would make first contact peacefully, with a well-written message, a bright banner of hope, and calm ambassadors. But now all plans seemed weak and childish. Whatever was coming was fast, organized, and powerful. Asterisk, the Stellar Accord gathered emergency leaders through encrypted channels. Generals, scientists, diplomats, they all stared at the holographic images of the unknown vessels. The shapes were smooth, almost organic, with glowing lines pulsing along their surface. They moved with perfect formation, like birds flying in synchronized motion. No human fleet could move like that. It was beautiful and terrifying at the same time. Still, humanity wanted to try peace first. They prepared emissary ships, small vessels carrying peaceful symbols, universal math codes, and harmless energy signals. Every culture on Earth contributed to these symbols. Hands open, shapes of peace, basic star maps, music that represented humanity, messages saying, "We come in peace. We want to understand you." Asterisk, people hoped. Leaders hoped. Even Dr. N hoped, but Cade Rowan, staring at the silent alien ships, felt a knot in his stomach. They were too coordinated, too quiet. They did not slow down to scan. They did not try to communicate. They did nothing that suggested curiosity or diplomacy. Asterisk. They moved with the confidence of beings who already knew exactly what they wanted. The emissary ships launched. Everyone watched nervously as the small vessels approached the alien formation. The moment was historic, humanity's first attempt to speak to a new species. Months of preparation had gone into crafting the messages. Pilots volunteered for this mission proudly. They believed they would be the first humans in history to greet an alien civilization. But then everything changed. Before the emissary ships could send their full message packet, light burst across the screens. The unknown vessels released sharp beams of energy so fast and so precise that even the automated defensive systems did not react. One by one, the emissary ships were cut apart in perfect, clean lines. There was no explosion, no smoke, no debris fields. The ships simply fell apart, sliced like paper dot in the control rooms across the empire. Silence fell. Everyone stared in shock. The attack had been instant. No attempt at communication, no warning shot. The aliens had responded with lethal efficiency, as if the emissary ships were threats, not peaceful visitors. Dr. N felt her breath freeze in her throat. "Why?" she whispered. Humanity had not shown any sign of aggression. They had sent peaceful symbols. They had followed every guideline that scientists believed might help avoid misunderstandings. But the aliens reacted as though they were destroying pests. More alien ships appeared behind the first group, larger ones, shaped like curved blades or massive wings. They moved as if directed by a single mind. Scanners picked up their energy patterns. They were communicating with each other, but the signals were encrypted in ways humans could not decode. These beings were advanced, organized, and not interested in peace. The Stellar Accord leaders demanded answers from the science teams. Why had the aliens attacked? Did humanity accidentally send the wrong message? Did the emissary ships trigger some aggressive response? Researchers checked the communication signals 3 times. Everything had been perfect. No threatening signals. No energy spikes. Nothing that should have caused fear. But the aliens had not hesitated. Panic spread inside the secret colonies. Workers whispered to each other. Families in the hidden bases began to fear that the aliens would find their homes. The leaders tried to calm everyone, but fear is stronger than words, especially when the scanner screens showed the alien fleet moving toward the inner system. Humanity's secret empire was no longer a secret to whoever these beings were. Admiral Rourke, commander of the small defensive fleet, immediately mobilized his ships. Though the Veil had built many installations, it had not fully prepared for a large-scale war. Most ships were transport vessels, research craft, or lightly armed scouts. Only a handful were true warships, and even those were not ready for an enemy like this. Rourke gathered his captains in a holographic meeting. His voice was rough and steady. "We will not fire unless fired upon," he said, "but we will defend every human life in this system." His words were brave, but deep down he knew the truth. Humanity was facing a power they did not understand, a power they were not ready for. Meanwhile, Dr. N examined the scanned data from the alien ships. She noticed something strange. The aliens were not simply reacting to the emissary ships. They were scanning deeper, searching the solar system, almost as if they already knew something was hidden there. The pattern of movement did not look exploratory. It looked like a hunt. Then one of the alien vessels changed course and headed straight toward humanity's nearest hidden outpost. It was clear now. This was not a misunderstanding. This was not an accident or a fearful response. The aliens had come with intent, and they were moving faster than any human defense could. The Stellar Accord called for another attempt at communication. Dr. N sent a new message, a simpler one. Only math signals and peaceful frequencies. No ships this time. Just signals sent from multiple stations. But the aliens did not pause. They did not respond. Their ships only accelerated. Inside the research station near Jupiter, alarms began to flash as the alien vessels moved even closer. The workers panicked. Some begged for evacuation ships, but the process was slow and dangerous. They had to keep everything hidden, even during escape. But hiding was no longer an option. The aliens arrived faster than expected. Defense turrets activated automatically, but before they could fire, the alien ships disabled them with a single pulse. Lights flickered, power dropped, and the entire station went dark. Across all human stations, panic spread like wildfire. People realized that humanity's technology, once considered advanced, was nothing compared to these newcomers. The aliens, later known as the Arcath, were operating with intelligence humanity had never imagined. They jammed communications effortlessly. They disabled engines with precision. They moved with purpose. And still, no message, no warning, no explanation. Humanity had prepared for peace. Humanity had prepared for slow, cautious exploration. But the Arcath brought a war that began without a single spoken word. Dr. N felt a weight inside her chest. The empire they had built over decades, so carefully hidden, was now exposed. Every colony, every shipyard, every research base was at risk. She stared at the screen showing the alien fleet, and for the first time in her life she felt truly powerless. Humanity had built an empire in the shadows, but the shadows had not protected them. The universe had found them, and the universe was not friendly. The war had begun faster than anyone could have imagined, and it was only the beginning. The attack on the emissary ships changed everything. One moment, humanity still believed peace was possible. The next moment, the truth became clear. The aliens had no interest in talking. They had come ready for violence. And now, as their ships spread through the solar system, humanity's secret empire was suddenly facing its greatest nightmare. The outposts that had been built for research and mining were never designed for war. They had thin walls, weak shields, and only small defense systems meant to stop meteor fragments, not hostile alien fleets. When the Arcath ships moved closer, panic filled every hidden colony. Workers who spent years living in silence and discipline now felt fear pressing down on their hearts. Admiral Rourke tried to organize a defense, but everything was happening too quickly. He sent out orders for all ships with weapons to form a protective line around the most important installations, the main shipyard, the largest research dome, and the central communication hub. But even as he gave orders, reports of destruction began arriving. The first outpost to fall was a mining station inside a hollowed asteroid near Jupiter. The aliens surrounded it without warning. Instead of using brute force, they emitted a soft blue energy that spread across the asteroid's surface. Within seconds, the power grids inside the station collapsed. Lights died, systems froze, and the workers inside felt a terrifying silence as life support systems went offline. No explosions, no alarm, just a slow, chilling suffocation of everything human-built. The people inside tried to escape in small emergency pods, but the aliens disabled them with tiny pulses of light. The pods drifted, powerless, like broken toys. A message from the station reached Admiral Rourke. Before the signal was cut, they can shut down anything. Anything. This message alone was enough to shake everyone. Dr. Ira N. sat in the main command center listening to the growing chaos. Her mind was sharp, trained to analyze situations quickly, but even she struggled to understand the aliens' intentions. Were they trying to erase humanity? Were they clearing the solar system for themselves? Or did they think humans were something dangerous? The truth felt far away, hidden behind fear and confusion. Across the Empire, emergency evacuation protocols began, but the routes were narrow and limited. Only a few ships could leave each station at a time, and the aliens moved faster than those ships could. Families were separated. Scientists left behind equipment they had spent years building. Children cried in the corridors while parents tried to stay calm. The hidden empire, once filled with hope and purpose, now echoed with uncertainty and terror. Lieutenant Cade Rowan, who had been the first to detect the alien ships, found himself thrown into a new role. His small monitoring station near Saturn was suddenly one of the last functioning eyes humanity had left. He and his team tracked alien movements, warning Admiral Rourke whenever the Arceth changed direction. But the aliens were unpredictable. They moved like hunters, scanning for the energy signals that the Veil's technology produced. It became clear that the very tech humans used to hide their empire was now betraying them. Meanwhile, inside the Central Research Dome, scientists were desperate. They scrambled through data, hoping to find some weakness in the alien signals. Some believed that the aliens were using a type of biotechnology, something living but controlled, almost like creatures shaped into ships. Others thought their energy beams were formed from stable plasma, something humans had never been able to create. But each theory led nowhere. The Arceth was simply beyond human understanding. Admiral Rourke, though brave, felt the pressure. He commanded the strongest few warships humanity had, but even those seemed small compared to the Arceth vessels. Still, he ordered his fleet to protect the largest civilian evacuation convoy. If humanity was going to survive, even in a smaller form, they needed to save as many people as possible. The convoy set out from the hidden colonies behind Saturn. It consisted of families, scientists, engineers, and children. Their ships were not built for battle, they were simple transports. Rourke's fleet surrounded them, forming a shell of protection. For a while, they moved safely, but the aliens detected the movement. A trio of Arceth hunters appeared behind the convoy. Their ships glowed as blue energy rippled through them, and they flew faster than anything Rourke had ever seen. He immediately ordered his warships to break formation and intercept. His captains obeyed without question. They knew this might be their last mission. They fired missiles and rail shots toward the Arceth, but the alien ships shifted their shape, bending slightly to avoid every projectile. The missiles sailed into empty space. Then the aliens fired. A single pulse hit one of Rourke's ships, and half of it vanished in an instant, cleanly erased. No explosion, no flames. It simply ceased to exist. The shockwave of fear inside the command center was unbelievable. Rourke's second-in-command whispered, "How do we fight something like that?" But Admiral Rourke did not back down. He pushed his fleet forward, sacrificing distance to buy the convoy time. Though he knew they could not win, he was determined to make sure humanity lived on. The aliens fired again. Another human ship disappeared into pieces of floating metal. Still, Rourke fought. For every second the fleet stood in the aliens' path, the convoy moved farther away. The children on the transport ships had no idea how many soldiers were giving their lives to protect them. Far away, Dr. N watched the battle from her monitors. Her eyes were wet, but she did not blink. She knew Admiral Rourke too well. He would not retreat unless the convoy was safe. She whispered to herself, "Hold on, just a little longer." Back in the battle, Rourke's flagship shook violently as an alien pulse grazed the hull. Alarms screamed. Systems failed, but the ship remained standing. Rourke shouted orders, his voice strong even as everything around him collapsed. Minutes felt like hours. Finally, Cade Rowan's voice came through the comms. "Convoy has escaped visual range. No alien ships pursuing." Rourke closed his eyes. Relief washed through him. He had succeeded, but victory was brief. The largest Arceth ship drifted forward, its glowing patterns forming sharp, threatening lines. Rourke looked at it on the main screen and knew the end had come. "All hands," he said calmly. "Prepare for final contact." The alien ship charged its blue energy, and in a flash, Admiral Rourke's fleet was gone. Across the secret empire, news of Rourke's sacrifice spread like fire. Some cried. Some held on to any hope they could find. Some simply sat in silence, knowing their world had changed forever. Dr. N, however, refused to surrender. She began studying the destroyed warship's last transmissions. She wanted to understand how the aliens aimed, why they attacked without communication, why they ignored peace. And deep within the data, she found something strange, a repeating pattern in the aliens' scanning signals. Something familiar, something that looked almost identical to the energy signature of the Veil's cloaking technology. She felt her heart sink. The aliens were not attacking humanity by mistake. They were reacting to something they believed, they recognized, something they feared. something humanity had unknowingly copied. And now, with the Empire exposed and the first battles lost, the war had only begun. Dr. Ella stared at the screen in disbelief. The pattern she had discovered in the alien scanning signals pulsed again and again, repeating in a rhythm that felt disturbingly familiar. She enlarged the data, compared it to older files, and replayed it in slow motion. There could be no mistake. The energy signature used by the Arcath's strange, shimmering pulse they were sending through every human installation was almost identical to the signature produced by the Veil's cloaking generators. That meant the aliens were not reacting because humanity had built an empire. They were reacting because humanity had built something that looked like a weapon they had already fought before. Her heart felt heavy as she whispered, "We frightened them without knowing. If the Arcath believed the Veil's energy signature belonged to an ancient enemy of theirs, then everything humanity had done, every hidden colony, every cloaked ship, every shield looked like a threat, a ghost from their past, a danger they thought they had destroyed." The pieces of the puzzle slowly came together in her mind. The Arcath had not paused to talk because they believed they already knew what humanity was. They saw the energy signature, recognized it, and responded with immediate destruction. To them, humanity's silence and hidden empire did not look peaceful. They looked like preparation for attack. But Dr. N also saw something else in the data, a tiny gap in the alien pattern, a small window where their communication network shifted directions. It lasted less than a second each time, but it was enough for her to confirm that the Arcath used a shared communication field, linking all their ships together. If a message could be sent through that field, using their own energy signature, perhaps it could make them stop. Not understand stop, but to do that, they would have to send the message from extremely close range. Close enough for the Arcath to consider it a threat. Close enough to be suicide. She called an emergency meeting with the remaining fleet commanders, the surviving scientists, and the leaders of the Stellar Accord. Everyone looked tired, frightened, and broken. Admiral Rourke's sacrifice had saved thousands, but it had also shown how hopeless a head-on fight was. Dr. N explained the discovery as simply as she could. "They are not attacking us because of who we are," she said. "They are attacking us because of what our technology looks like to them. We must show them we are not their old enemy." The room went silent. Many felt a spark of hope, others felt dread. A captain asked, "How do we show them without getting killed?" Dr. N took a deep breath. "We need to send a non-aggressive signal through their own communication field. If they receive a peaceful message shaped in their own energy pattern, they might stop attacking. They might pause long enough for us to talk." Another scientist leaned forward. "But to connect with their field, we must get extremely close. And only a ship with a powerful Veil generator could match their frequency." The truth landed heavily. Only one type of ship could complete the mission, a cloaked ship with an old model Veil core, and those ships were slow, fragile, and already outdated. Still, someone had to go. A quiet voice spoke up from the corner of the room. "I'll do it." Everyone turned. It was Marin Solis, the engineer who had helped build the first Veil generators, a thin woman with a calm face. She understood the technology better than anyone alive. She knew how dangerous the mission would be, but she also understood that only she knew how to manipulate the Veil's energy patterns perfectly. Dr. N looked at her with both admiration and fear. "Marin, the chance of returning alive is almost zero." Marin smiled sadly. "If we don't try, none of us will survive anyway." The decision was made. A small cloaked ship, barely bigger than a cargo shuttle, was prepared for the mission. The crew was kept minimal. Marin, as lead engineer, 2 pilots, and a single communication officer. They stripped the ship of unnecessary weight and added extra shielding to the Veil generator. The idea was simple but terrifying. Get close to the largest Arcath flagship, enter its communication field, and send a message that mimicked the alien's own signature but carried human meaning. Before the ship launched, Dr. N met Marin privately. The two women had worked together for years, building the secret empire step by step. Now it felt as if they were tearing it apart to save it. Dr. N placed a hand on Marin's shoulder. "If I knew we were copying a dangerous energy pattern, I never would have approved the Veil." Marin shook her head. "You couldn't have known. None of us could." Dr. Haynes' voice trembled. "Be careful." Marin nodded once and walked to the ship. The launch was quiet, hidden from alien detection by the Veil generator. The small vessel moved slowly, carefully weaving through asteroid fields and debris left from earlier attacks. The pilots avoided using engines at full power, afraid the sudden bursts might attract the Arcath*. Hours passed in silence. Finally, the Arcath flagship came into view. It was enormous, shaped like a glowing crescent of living metal. Blue energy pulsed along its surface, moving like veins. The closer the human ship approached, the more intense the alien communication field became. Static filled the speakers. Lights flickered. The hull groaned under invisible pressure. The pilots looked pale, sweat dripping down their faces. "We can't get much closer," one warned. "We must," Marin said. "We need to be inside the field, not outside it." Gradually, they moved forward until the ship was almost touching the alien vessel's outer energy layer. The human ship shook violently. The communication officer panicked as the screens went dark. "We're losing systems." Marin held onto the console. "Hold position. Begin amplification." The veil generator activated. The room filled with a low hum, like distant thunder. Lights flickered. The ship seemed to vibrate from the inside. A sphere of energy began forming around them, shimmering with the blue-white signature that the Archith used. For a moment, the alien field reacted aggressively, sending a surge of power against the human ship. The whole warnings flashed. One pilot screamed as the controls sparked. But Marin stayed calm. "Increase harmony, frequency, match their rhythm." The generator pulsed again, this time aligning perfectly with the alien pattern. The aggressive energy suddenly softened. The shaking stopped. The alien field accepted the human ship not as an enemy, but as something familiar. "It's working," the communication officer cried. Marin input the final message. It was a sequence of peaceful signals, mathematical truths, symbols of life, and a clear pattern showing that humanity was not the same enemy the Archith once fought. She pressed send. For a moment, nothing happened. Then everything changed. The alien flagship began to glow brighter, but not in an attacking way. The pulses slowed. The Archith communication field expanded gently, closing around the human message like a creature examining something delicate. A wave of soft white light spread outward. Across the fleet, Dr. N watched from the command center as the alien ships suddenly stopped their movements. Their weapons powered down. Their scanners turned away from human installations. The entire fleet froze in place, silent and still. The communication officer whispered, "They heard us." But the victory was short-lived. The human ship, already damaged from the pressure of the alien field, began to lose power. The veil generator overheated, glowing red-hot. Fire erupted inside the engineering deck. "Evacuate." The pilot shouted. Marin stayed calm as the flames spread. She grabbed the controls of the generator and locked them in place. "If we shut it down, they'll think it was a trick. We have to hold a message." "Marin, get out." Dr. N screamed through the comm. She only smiled, tears in her eyes. "Tell them we meant peace." The ship exploded in a silent flash. The alien fleet, now understanding the message, slowly drifted back. They did not speak. They did not apologize. But they stopped the attack. For them, peace meant stopping, not destroying further. Dr. N fell to her knees, crying quietly. Marin had given humanity a chance. The war had paused. Not ended, not solved, but paused long enough for humanity to breathe. And the cost of that fragile peace was everything. When the explosion faded and the alien fleet drifted into stillness, the entire solar system seemed to exhale. For weeks, every human alive, whether in the hidden colonies or on distant stations, had lived in fear. Their hearts had been beating fast, their minds constantly anxious. But now, for the first time, there was silence. A fragile silence, like a thin sheet of glass that could break at any moment. Dr. Elara N stood inside the command center, staring at the empty spot on the display where Marin Solis's ship had once been. She felt both pride and deep sorrow. Marin had saved them. She had done what no one else could do. Yet the cost was heavy. Dr. N closed her eyes and whispered a quiet promise to herself. "Your sacrifice will not be forgotten." But just because the alien fleet had stopped attacking did not mean humanity was safe. The Archith remained in the solar system. Their ships floated quietly, lights dimmed like giant beasts watching from the dark. They did not move closer or farther, they simply waited. They did not fire weapons, but they also did not attempt communication. It was as if the message Marin sent had paused them, gave them a moment to reconsider, but had not fully convinced them. In the hidden colonies, life slowly began again. People crawled out from emergency shelters, blinking at the artificial lights, returning to full power. Children asked their parents if the monsters were gone. Parents lied softly, saying yes, they're gone, even though they could still feel the alien's presence like a shadow nearby. The Stellar Accord sent teams to repair damaged systems, restore water and air supplies, and move injured survivors to safer areas. The evacuation ships Rourke had protected returned with thousands of frightened families. Many had lost friends or relatives. Some had lost entire homes when outposts were destroyed. The hidden empire that once looked strong and confident now looked fragile, broken, and uncertain. Dr. N spent every hour studying the alien fleet. She watched the changing patterns of their pulse lights, the subtle shifts in their formation, and the gentle waves of energy that flowed across their surfaces. She tried to understand them, who they were, what they wanted, whether they were still angry or simply confused. At night, she sat alone in her office listening to recordings of Marin's final transmission. She played it again and again, feeling the engineer's courage echo in her heart. "Tell them we meant peace" had become more than Marin's last words. It became a mission for all humanity. Meanwhile, leaders from Earth began to arrive at the secret Antarctic base, now exposed to the world. For years, the veil had hidden everything. But now, humans across the planet demanded answers. Why were there giant alien ships in their sky? What had the governments been hiding? And most importantly, was the war truly over? The Stellar Accord held an emergency global broadcast, explaining that a misunderstanding had led to a conflict with an advanced alien civilization. They did not reveal everything, not about the cloaking technology or the ancient enemy the Arquette once fought, but they told the world the truth that mattered. Humanity had made first contact, and that contact had been nearly fatal. People responded with fear, anger, curiosity, and hope, but no one could deny that humanity had changed forever, back in space. Scientists continued examining the wreckage of destroyed stations and warships. They searched for clues, anything that could help them understand the Arquette's technology or their behavior. What they found shocked them. Some of the alien energy signatures clinging to debris showed signs of intelligence, almost like living code. The Arquettes were not just using advanced technology, they might be merging biological and mechanical engineering in ways humans had never imagined. The more Dr. N learned, the more she realized how small humanity really was. Their secret empire, which once felt impressive and powerful, was nothing compared to the capabilities of the Arquette. Humanity had reached far into the solar system, but the galaxy was far bigger, filled with mysteries and dangers. Yet despite their advanced power, the Arquette did not attack again. Days passed, then weeks. The alien fleet maintained its distance but showed no signs of aggression. Some of their ships drifted closer to the sun, perhaps observing it. Others positioned themselves near asteroid belts, scanning quietly. It seemed they were studying the solar system, trying to understand what kind of species humanity truly was. Finally, after several weeks of silence, something extraordinary happened. A small beam of soft blue light extended from one of the Arquette ships toward a damaged human relay station. Dr. N rushed to her monitors. Everyone feared it was a weapon, but it was not. The beam flowed into the station like a river of light, repairing damaged circuits, restoring power, and activating life support systems. Human engineers stared at the screens in pure disbelief. The aliens were fixing something. It was not an apology. It was not a message of friendship, but it was something, a sign, a gesture. Dr. N felt her heart swell. They understand we are not the enemy, she whispered. After that moment, everything changed. The Arquette ships began sending tiny energy pulses that matched Marin's peace signal. Simple, curious pulses. Not hostile, not demanding, just present, like someone knocking softly on a door, unsure if they are welcome. Humanity responded with carefully designed signals of their own mathematical patterns, shapes of life, harmless light frequencies. Communication was slow, awkward, and full of misunderstandings, but it was happening. A fragile bridge was forming between two species who nearly destroyed each other. Yet even as hope grew, the ruins of humanity's secret empire remained. 13 colonies had once shone with life, now only a handful were fully functional. Families rebuilt homes from broken metal. Scientists restarted experiments with cracked equipment. The Stellar Accord sent materials and food from Earth, and soon the hidden empire became less secret and more united with the rest of humanity. Dr. N walked through one of the partially repaired stations. Watching workers and children move through the corridors, she saw a determination in their faces. They had been through terror, but they were rebuilding. They were stronger now, not because of their technology, but because of their will. One night, standing in the observation dome, she looked at the stars and felt a strange mixture of sadness and pride. Humanity had reached the stars in fear, but now they stood in the galaxy with honesty and caution. They had learned the cost of secrecy. They had learned the danger of misunderstanding, and they had learned the value of sacrifice. Marin's sacrifice. The alien fleet remained, drifting quietly, watching them, and humanity watched back. They were not allies. Not yet, but they were not enemies anymore. Just as civilizations learning to coexist in a universe too big to fully understand. As months passed, the Arquette slowly withdrew, leaving only a few ships behind as observers. Their departure was silent, moving through dark space like shadows returning home. No words were spoken, but everyone knew something important had happened. The galaxy had noticed humanity, not as a threat, not as prey, but as a new voice, small, inexperienced, but willing to learn. Dr. N gathered her team and spoke softly. We have stepped onto the galactic stage. We cannot hide anymore. From this point forward, humanity must walk with open eyes and open hands. The room was silent. Then she added, we survived the first test. Now we must prepare for the future. Outside, the stars glimmered, countless and unknown. Humanity no longer looked at them with fear or secrecy. They looked with respect and curiosity. The war had not made them stronger in the way they once imagined, but it had made them wiser. And wisdom, Dr. N believed, would guide humanity farther than any hidden empire ever could.